All right. I feel the desire to share. I don't know necessarily with anyone because I only know of two people who watch this with any degree of regularity, and only one of them has internet right now. So I'm basically talking to Jeff. So for you, sir, and also for Lars, before I get into my rant for today, which feel free to skip if you like, because you both know my views on religion, and that's all I'm going to today. Uh, cool video down there. It's nothing to do with what I'm about to talk about, so just have a present before I continue. Um, so, uh, I feel like I have been having some issues, more so than even like in the last year or so of my life, about how I deal with religion. I don't really approve of it, at least in a fundamentalist sort of a sense. I was raised in, I don't want to say necessarily a Christian household, because my views on Christianity and my knowledge of Christianity up until the last couple of years of my life have really only stemmed from that sort of societal assumption that we're all vaguely Christian. Um, so I honestly didn't know a hell of a lot about the actual writings in the Bible, and the tenets of really serious people who are serious about their religion. Um, and it wasn't necessary, like, I didn't approve of really serious fundamentalist religion before then, but in the last couple of years, I've really seen a lot more of fundamentalist religion up close, and it's caused me to think a lot. And first of all, I got really unhappy about it, and it sort of pushed me towards a more radical atheism, and a more angry sort of, almost not really militant, but like, I'm unhappy that people are sort of, in my opinion, abandoning reason, because there's so many beliefs that I'm discovering that are completely at odds with scientific consensus about the way the universe is known to work. And it's just an argument from somewhere other than rational thought, uh, is what these religious people are using to sort of counteract science, which, I mean, it is nothing if not rational and reasonable. Um, so I just think it's ridiculous that somebody, I was reading, because I spent most of the day just doing research. I actually spent most of last night at work watching videos on YouTube, because the radio would not shut the fuck up, and it was blasting static through the base all night, so I couldn't sleep. So I just went on the base computer and started watching videos of Richard Dawkins and other thinkers, more atheist thinkers, on YouTube, and just like listening to opinions that I agree with, just to sort of understand arguments, understand their responses to these fundamentalist, and not just Christian, but literalist arguments against evolution and against the Big Bang. These New World, or New Earth creationists. And I started by just looking into the responses, and just the arguments that I agreed in, because I mean, that's where you start. You start with stuff that you understand and stuff that you agree with. But I do want to experience the other side of the argument. I mean, the church that I went to as a child was this very sort of, not secular humanist, but just this humanist spiritualist sort of. It was a congregational church that was Christian, really in name only. I mean, it was a sort of monotheistic, gathering of people, but it wasn't really, Christian. It was more like, we have these teachings from Jesus, and we have teachings from, Eastern thinkers, and, Middle Eastern thinkers, and, and they would draw scripture from everywhere, all over the world, from all different belief systems, and it was just like, there is probably some higher power, and don't be shitty about it, just there is something that we can you know, learn from these writings and, learn how to be a better person. And I see no real problem with that. And that's why I was very more relaxed about my reviews, my views on religion until recently. And the last church I went to was not at all that laid back sort of accepting sort of church that I grew up in. It was very fundamentalist, very literalist congregation. I mean, these people are very nice. I mean, it's nothing against the people themselves. It's just that their beliefs are so alien to what I grew up with, not because they're so much more narrowly focused on the Bible and just very specific ideas about Christianity in general. It's more because I don't know. I was offended because there was a lot of it was almost like they're arguing with the congregation, trying to teach and reinforce these ideas. And it's not like trying to teach how to be a good person. It's trying to teach almost legalistic, readings of the Bible, I don't think that when you're reading, a holy book, you really need to delve into what did the deity mean by these statements, because they're confusing to read just as words. I think if they're confusing to read just as words, then read something else. I don't want to. That sounds like I'm saying if you have to think too hard about it, it's not worth it, which is the opposite of what I'm saying. It's like, but I think that going to someone, one person, and saying, you interpret for me and you tell me what this means, is a terrible thing to do. I mean, if you want to frame it in this context, I mean, we have been given a tremendous gift of the ability to think critically about anything in our lives, and to not take advantage of that ability at every point in our lives is just the greatest sin that we can, for lack of better, terms. I mean, that's the worst thing we can do as a people. So I felt as if it was very much one person sort of imparting their interpretation and other people saying, yeah, that's exactly what I believe. And that really disturbed me more than I think anything else about it. Because it is people, in my view, and I have been to one service, but I mean, like, I'm doing more research now into the Christian side and the religious side of these arguments to sort of see, like, I want to understand how the other side thinks as well. But I think it's just not encouraged to question the teachings of the church, and I think that's first of all, that's evil. When people are encouraged not to question, I mean, that's a very sort of fascist belief that you follow the leaders without question. I mean, that I don't want to go to those sort of stereotypes like that's what Hitler did. I mean, it is what Hitler did, but that I don't want to go to that. It's to bring it more close to home with the Bush era Republicans said you're either with us or against us, and it's you can't see the world in terms of black and white like that, especially with complicated issues like politics and religion. You have to ask questions yourself, and you have to think deeply about things, and you have to speak to multiple people and read a lot and think a lot and really discover what you believe. And that isn't encouraged. I've been reading the King James Bible. I started today, and I do intend to read it cover to cover, every word. The reason I'm reading the King James Version as opposed to countless other versions, the new New World or New English or whatever, there's dozens of different versions of the Bible, just in English, and let alone other translations in other languages. And the reason I've decided to read the King James Version is it is, as far as I can tell, the most popular English version of the Bible. So that means I will have at least a little bit more insight than I would have were I reading a more recent, easier to digest, version of the Bible. But like in Genesis, I mean, I'm only in Genesis. I'm almost done with that. I mean, I'm past the flood and whatnot. But in Genesis 3, I think it's Genesis. It's the very beginning. The first two chapters are God creating the world, and then it's like He creates the world, then creates the world again, and then creates the. It's sort of the first couple of chapters seem very poorly thought out. So you can, a lot of scholars believe, non-Christian scholars believe that it's cobbled together from different authors from varying time periods. And I don't really want to get into that. I'm just saying it's kind of confusing to read, but I will endeavor to get through the whole thing. But in the beginning of Genesis, when God has created Adam and Eve and is laying out the rules for them, He's basically saying, you can do whatever you please. I mean, all the animals are here for you, all the plants are here for you, everything's going to be nice and easy, but don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because that's for me alone. And I think that's very telling, because, I mean, right at the beginning of the book about, that this religion bases most, if not all, of their tenets on, is saying that, knowledge is forbidden to the common man, and specifically knowledge of good and evil. Morality is for God Himself to decide. We just have to follow and trust. And, I think that's really disturbing, actually, that, all God says, don't learn, and then gets amazingly unhappy with them for, it broadening their mind and, starting to think in terms of what's right and wrong. Think for themselves? No, that's terrible. You can't do that, There's other things that bothered me about it. How can you espouse to believe in an omnipresent being, a being that is everywhere at all times, who then leaves and doesn't, and they're omniscient, they know everything. God is everywhere and knows everything, and, but in the beginning, He goes to 7-Eleven for a Big Gulp. I don't know, I mean, He leaves Eden to go somewhere else, and then comes back and is unaware of what transpired. And that also is confusing as hell to me. You would think that, He wouldn't have to actually go anywhere because He's everywhere, and even if He did, focus somewhere else, He still knows what's going on with Adam and Eve. I'm desperately trying to understand, but reason keeps butting in and saying, but why? And I can't answer those questions for myself. So I will be talking to people. I mean, people that I don't necessarily trust as rational thinkers, but people who, have put a lot more thought into these things. So maybe I may not be able to agree with them on anything, but I certainly want more insight into the way they think, which is really what I'm trying to do here. It is not necessarily convince myself that I'm right or wrong, because I know what I believe and I know why. But I'd like to know why other people believe stuff that I can't reconcile with just basic common sense. So, I don't know. I feel as if I've spent about 13.5 minutes talking about this, and I haven't been too upset. I haven't been too belligerent about this. So, I don't know. As I read the Bible, I may update you once in a while. Not nearly as, long-windedly as this, I hope. But I'd like to hear from you guys soon and find out what's going on in your lives. Yeah. Take it easy, everyone.